Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the Circuit Rhythm from Novation. I've had this box for a bit now and I haven't really talked about why I like it. So I figured this video would just be a quick discussion about why I think this is an awesome sampler. It might even be my favorite sampler depending on the day or the production that I'm working on. Now obviously I have a lot of sampler options out there, from the MPC to the Digitag to Octatrack and obviously the Circuit Rhythm. But what I find really interesting is how fast you can actually sample with the Circuit Rhythm. And one of the main reasons is there's no screen on the Circuit Rhythm, because you're not thinking about like naming it or giving it some sort of particular attribute or something like that upon sampling. You're just literally grabbing the sample and then going, and it's on a square. For example, if I go sample record and then I scroll down to some open slots, let's say we'll go to this area, this 5. The way the rhythm's set up is that you have 128 slots available per sample pack that you're working with, and that sample pack is then shared across all 8 tracks for triggering sounds and all that. There is no polyphony in the tracks, so each one is always a mono sound or a mono sample that's being triggered. I think you have 32 different packs, but each one of those can have up to 128 different sounds. But there's also the limitation of how much actual recording length you can have, which is only 220 seconds, which is 3 minutes? 3 minutes, 40 seconds is what it is. So there's limitations. It's not perfect by any means. Also, it's mono, it's not stereo. So once again, limitations, but with that out of the way, here's how fast it can be to just sample something. Done. Really freaking cool. Now again, you can hear it just monofied, that stereo signal, which is what it is, you know, you kind of have to just deal with that. But I do think it sounds interesting and has its own character when you do sample into the Circuit Rhythm, albeit subtle, you know? So yeah, one of my favorite ways of working with this box is to just literally grab some chords and samples and stuff and just start making a beat out of it, you know? So let's do that. So I grabbed the C minor chord right there. Let's grab some other chords from, by the way, I'm using the Hydrasynth Explorer right here, which is a great keyboard with nice mini keys that has poly aftertouch and is being patched directly into the Circuit Rhythm right there. I should also mention the other details of the setup. The Circuit Rhythm output is going directly into the Microcosm, and currently the Microcosm is basically dry. So there's no actual effects going on the Microcosm. And then that output is going into my audio interface, which I'm then monitoring through Ableton Live at the moment. So that's the only reason I have Ableton Live up at this particular moment, just to be able to hear it. So that's the setup right there. So anything you hear coming out of the Hydrasynth is going directly into the Circuit Rhythm to get processed and all that stuff. It's so fast and simple. I really enjoy it. By the way, there was a 2.0 that just recently got updated, and this video isn't about the 2.0 features. I'm just mentioning that like they are updating the firmware, which most likely means that there's a 2.0 coming for the tracks as well, the circuit tracks, which I do have, and I think is an awesome DAW-less centerpiece, which I'll probably do a video on that at some point in the future. Subscribe if you want to see that. So yeah, we got some stuff right there. One thing I like doing is kind of grabbing an init patch and then just making some basic sounds real quick to do some stuff. So let's give it maybe that, a little stereo width, warm on. Stereo width doesn't really matter, but it's like the raw sound of the synth. Drive it, drop the cutoff. So let's just grab some quick little hits here. Like that. Could be a bass sound. Or maybe this could be bass. Obviously there's a clicking sound right there, and that's because the sample is getting cut off from the previous sample. That's causing that click. So just in case you're wondering, it's full of clicks, man. Well, that's because I'm just demoing these samples like that at the moment. Let's go to the saw wave, or the wave. Change this up to maybe the sync lav. I'm just gonna grab one of these. And then maybe something else. If you want a clear one, you just hold clear and you tap it. We got some sounds going there. Let's see what else we can get. Esquire. Let's actually throw a reverb on here to give it some sort of like dimension. So we have a long note. This is going to take up more sample memory, which you do have to be concerned about if you're working this way, because again, it's only 220 seconds of actual time that you have per sample pack. So that includes the drums, tonal instruments, effects, any kind of like, you know, little blocking, crushy noise type of sound. All that has to be accounted for in your sample pack. So you know what? We got this. Let's just let's mess with some stuff. So what I like to do is have the first 4 tracks be percussion, drums, and then 5 through 8 be tonal instruments. So, you know, bass, chords, that type of stuff. That's just the way I set it up, you know, obviously do whatever you want. So 3 usually is some sort of hi-hat for me, and I'm going to throw a hi-hat down to get some sort of tempo going. So we have maybe let's use this sound right here. Classic hi-hat sound. So very basic, vanilla sounding. It's at 90 BPM right now. We might make this a slow jam. I'm gonna up the swing though. Let's say like 58. Go back to this. So I need to do some velocity real quick, so I'm gonna do that. Got a bit of a shuffle thing going on there. Yeah, we could work with something like this. One thing that the way this is set up is each pattern is a measure or 2 measures, depending on if you hit the 17 or 32. And then you have 8 total patterns per voice or per channel, specifically on the rhythm here. I'm not necessarily a fan of this setup. I mean, it makes sense and it works for making stuff, but sometimes it can feel a little boxed in. Obviously, it's a bunch of boxes and patterns and grids and all that stuff, but I don't know, sometimes it can just be slightly off to me. Because what I always like doing is chaining multiple measures. Like I usually want at least 2 bars, if not 4 bars. So I'll hit the 17 to 32. So now I have 2 measures to work with here. But if I want to have 4 measures, I need to select this pattern, and then I have to go back to the track, and then I have to hit this again, and then I have to go back to the pattern, and then chain them, like so, and now it will play 4 bars worth right here. And, you know, that's straightforward. Don't get me wrong, like that's easy to do, but sometimes I wish I could just like tap the pattern, have it automatically go 2 bars right there, and then work with it. Oh, I guess one of the problems with this is that there's no count in or click, or like, a count in for when you want to record. And I find that a bit cumbersome when you want to specifically like record, say 8 bars of some MIDI on there. So just a little thing, you know. It's like I said, this isn't a perfect device by any means, but it's a really fun device. So let's get back to it. So I'm on the second pattern. There we go. Obviously, everything's being quantized at the moment. So let's do a little sound shaping here. Let's adjust these hats as well. Actually adjust the tuning of track 1. Let's set up some tonal instruments now. So I'm going to go down to, I think it's 6. No, wrong one. 5. There. So this is what we sampled earlier. Maybe we'll get like a bass line first, something like that. So again, I got to go into patterns and get several of these. I'll do it a different way this time. In order to have 4 bars, I will just use the single pattern of each one and not do the 17 to 32 additional 2 bars per pattern trick like that. So we'll just do it that way. So I have this selected. Then I go into note mode. I have a scale. If I press it again, I have 2 scales, and I can change the octave. So I'm just gonna have to let it go 4 bars and then record it, so. Yep. Let's sidechain this real quick. Throw a little reverb on here, or delay, I guess. All right, let's go track 6. Go down to 5. Something like that. I don't know how many measures I need. Guess we'll go 4. What the hell? Throw some effects on there. Top end, a little low end. Okay, something else? Maybe a little melody line with this thing. do something like that, something simple. Maybe throw in a little more percussion. Throw in some random stuff here. Probability, please. That will always hit. This one will have a chance. And this one will have a low chance. Got a little bit of a pattern going here. What I like to do on top of that is kind of jam around. Oh, also I haven't talked about the microcosm getting intermixed here as well, because right now it's just been muted. So I have a MIDI cable going out of the circuit rhythm into the microcosm's input. So the clock for the microcosm will be in sync, and therefore interrupt will work properly. So for instance, it's in time. Now let's just blend it in, and it's got like a cool kind of like fill effect. It does it for everything though, including the tonal instruments. I think that actually sounds really cool. Anyways, I think it's a fun way of jamming, right? Fun way of just coming up with stuff on the fly. Again, there's limitations, big time limitations. The sample memory is a huge limit. The fact that you can't do stereo samples in there, obviously a limit as well. There's no polyphony with the tracks, but it's got a battery, you know, so I can actually just unplug everything, just plug in headphones, and it's good to go by itself for several hours. And I think that's pretty cool. Personally. One thing that they did add with the 2.0 update, which I think is cool, but still limited, they made it so you can do 8-step, 16-step, 32-step, and 64-step recording links. So it's always locked to that length right there. So if you go sample, record right here, then you select an empty slot and then you press this, you're gonna have fixed, and then fixed allows you to choose 8, 16, 32, or 64 length. So when I hit record, or when I hit record in here, it will automatically start recording for that length once I start playing. So actually let's just make it 8 steps right here. So now if I go like this, see, it just recorded 8 steps worth. Cool, right? Definitely usable, but and this is a big but, you can't sync it to the actual clock of when you want to start. At least I have not found a way to sync it properly to a clock without using one of your tracks to route out MIDI to your device, therefore kind of ruining your ability to just like jam freely. Like if you want to have some silence in the beginning of that, you basically have to get ready to hit record with your left hand and then jump back into the synth. And I know that kind of like throws me off a bit, having to hit record on here on the beat and also play at the same time or get ready to play. So it's like, it's so close to being a really cool feature, yet still just removed a couple steps away from being actually useful, at least in my opinion. And again, just to reiterate, you can't actually sync the record time to the beat without actually having something trigger the threshold or physically hit the record button without it being on threshold record. So yeah, Novation, if you watch this video, if you could just make a way to be able to record whatever input synced to the beginning of the clock or the next measure or something like that, I feel like that would make it just tremendously more useful. Because then if I just hit play, I can wait a few steps and then start playing. And then it'd be like, sample's done, you know? But unfortunately you can't do that right now. You have to be like prepared to hit the record on the beat to make sure it's in time. And again, one of the benefits of this is so you can actually play something in just pure free time, you know, like, or not have any kind of like quantization effects happen for your playing. It's just a pure free form playing signal that is actually synced to the tempo of your beat. So yeah, I love that they're updating this and making more things, but if they could just do a 2.01 update and have some sort of thing in here that says, I want to sync this to the beat or the clock of when it starts, that would be great. I'd be very happy about that. By the way, if you want any of these samples, I'm going to put them up on the Patreon. So if you're subscribed on that, you can grab those samples. But yeah, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. A like, subscribe, comment below. If you use the Circuit Rhythm and you like its workflow as well, definitely, you know, drop a comment below. Or if you have used it and you didn't like it, I'd like to hear why as well. But that is it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Deuces.